So you asked me about Scandinavian. Now, what do you play here?
Oh, so sorry, I forgot to mention now that I
Oh,
remember it.
okay.
So Scandinavian, there's another reason why I don't like There's an even worse opening that I do against white, and that's the French. It's a horrible opening for me.
Okay. Okay.
Especially just the pressure on my center usually
Yeah.
collapse, and I don't get compensation elsewhere.
Okay. Okay.
I try to avoid pushing here because I'll go into French. If I take,
Hmm.
it's kind of boring for a while. It's just a game for a long time. I don't
Yeah.
see much progress from the opening.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. I unfortunately do not have something amazing where to make it not boring. Take pushing is bad because you do get a like you actually get a Caro-Kann if or French like something like this. You get a Caro-Kann, but you are sort of one tempo down in some ways because, for example, let's say knight f3, black can already go c5. But if you compare this position, if I look at the notation, we are on move number 4, and it's white's move, yeah, with this
Yeah.
c5, move 4 and white's move. So, but if we compare this with a regular Caro-Kann, it goes like this. And then the advanced variation, which I've seen you play in one of the games I looked at. So let's say bishop here, knight f3. This is one of the popular options. And here, let's say c5. So basically, black gets c5 in 2 moves here. c6 first, then c5. But in the Scandinavian with that move order, they are getting it in one shot. So that is a worse version for white. Yeah. So pushing
So
is not good.
always
Always
take.
take. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So always take. And here there are multiple approaches. The more aggressive one, which ends up not being aggressive, I'm sure you try knight c3. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and knight c3 is fine. It's the main move, I think. Yeah,
And a
and it
lot of
is.
times I face the
Yeah.
queen going to a5, which is why
Okay.
I've stopped placing the knight there
Okay.
and
Okay.
going for knight to f3. They usually pin me.
Yeah.
I move my bishop, and then
Hmm.
kind of the game
Yeah.
continues.
Yeah. Yeah. I lately like knight f3 too, but here I will tell you again. If queen a5 is what you're facing, there is a interesting system. You go bishop c4, I think. So you're leaving this knight home, and you're leaving the d pawn right now at home. So let's say black plays something normal. Now you don't go d4, you go d3. Let's say they play their Scandinavian moves, I don't know, c6 or something. We go bishop d2, lining up this. At some point, Scandinavian players will often go to c7 with their queen just to get out of any tactics. Now we go queen e2, and they may play, let's say, some move. I don't know, bishop g4, even, or bishop f3 or something. I wish I knew exactly how this went, but basically, the idea is you're going to castle queenside. That's why we did this shenanigans.
Okay.
You're going to castle queenside, and at some point they will. Oops, no, that's an accident. That's not part of the recommendation. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to castle queenside. I don't remember exactly how, but let's say something like this, and then you want to play g4, f4, f5, and play against this e6 pawn and this bishop. Like, so let's say some whose move is it? It's it's white's move. Yeah. So let's say g4. Let's say f4. We are threatening f5. Yeah. So you can see we are getting some initiative, like black, and it's not maybe totally sound, but if you want something aggressive and attacking, you can look at this. You can take a look at this, and it will lead to interesting fights. And if you don't like this, or if they play, this will only work more effectively against queen a5. I think there are other moves after knight c3. Queen d6 is a move, and also queen d8 is a move. Queen d8 is a move that I recommend to some of my students, which is absolutely ridiculous looking move. Like, you just undevelop everything. But okay. But against this whole system doesn't make as much sense. But so if you don't like this, what I just showed you, then you play knight f3. Lately, I also myself play knight f3. And I think this is a little more positional, but it is also good. So the positional idea that white has is to go d4 and c4. Build this center with 2 pawns on d and c. That's what white would like to do. What do you face here usually? Bishop g4, you said, yeah?
Yeah, bishop g4.
Yeah, so you go bishop e2,
I
let's say.
yeah, and then a lot of the times I had avoided. I used to aim for both the d4 and c4 as quickly as possible, just so I
Uh-huh.
can develop the knight better.
Mhm.
But a lot of the time, I found that eventually d4 as a pawn became weak because I wasn't able to
Yeah.
push it. So
Okay.
I've been
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
been
yeah.
a little bit more hesitant in going
Okay.
that full way. But
Okay. Okay.
I'd love to see if you have what would be the ideas here. Like usually, I'd probably after this I would probably push my pawn up to d4. They would develop their knight naturally.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, and that is.
yeah, how would you kind of think about next steps after development?
Yeah, yeah. So let's say we castle, let's say they go e6. Now, one thing when this, I would say when you have this bishop lined up with your queen and bishop like this, almost always it's good to throw in h3. They may take or not take. If they take, you are very happy. Your bishop comes to f3. So let's say they don't take and they go anywhere. And now we will just play d4 and c4 on the next two moves. So I don't know what they do. So d4, c4, gaining a little tempo on the queen. Let's say the queen goes somewhere. And you just play this position. You have a little space, and how I like to treat it is positionally. It's not something where you are going for an attack, but basically you are trying to cramp the black pieces. Like uh, you are trying to avoid exchanges. Use the fact that you are controlling all these squares. Black cannot move too much, and just develop while avoiding exchanges. Like bring your pieces to good squares. I don't know. Let's say rook e1, some queens move somewhere, maybe the other rook comes to either d1 or c1, and keeping tension in the position. And it may not be very suitable to your style, to be honest with you, this type of game, but that is the way I think to play a position like this, where you just have some space, and black doesn't have any major problems. There are no weaknesses, and there are no very bad pieces. Everything is more or less fine, but you just have this space, and you try to keep building and building, and at some point black will run out of useful moves, sort of. That's the idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, having said that, I think the previous option that I showed you will be more to your style, which is the knight c3, and with this tricky there are points to not putting the pawn on d4, by the way. One of the points is we are controlling this e4 square, so at no point do they have this kind of ideas, using the pins. Also, they are not able to attack your d4 pawn, because there is no pawn on d4. And second thing is we are of course castling queenside, so it's just the fact of opposite side castling makes it more aggressive and attacking. Oops, again, not this move. Yeah, and yeah, then we are
No,
trying to
to be
use,
honest, I like it.
yeah, so
It's a
try this out.
nice, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so
Because I don't see a lot of moves that a Scandinavian player that would
yes,
be very threatening towards the queen side. So I think I'll get away with it a lot of the games
yeah,
in my rating.
and I don't think this is like a terrible, like it's not terribly bad either. I don't know if I have a way to switch on the computer here. Probably not, but okay. I don't think it's even objectively. It's not like it's not like white is losing on anything. It's playable. It's a little unorthodox, not very conventional way of developing our pieces, but it's very interesting. And you are trying to gain some tempo against this bishop. You will, since you have castle queenside, you are going to freely push all these 3 pawns of the board and create problems for your opponent, while their king is in the center. If they play e6, e6 pawn becomes a target, already being targeted by 2 of our pieces. So let's go a little further. At some point, maybe some sacrifices. I don't think it works right now, but otherwise, like I showed you, g4, f4. It is not. It is, if you have flip the board, it's not very comfortable to get under this. Yeah,
Yeah,
so black doesn't have a very good experience. So I think it's a good weapon you can try. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, thank you
Okay.
so much. That's it's amazingly. Sometimes it just needs to be pointed in the right way.
Yeah,
Like I
I
think,
hope it helps. Yeah.
yeah.